So this is for your chapter 10 lah, diseases and immunity. Okay, first things first, pathogens. What are pathogens? Disease-causing organisms lah. Okay, and then after that, okay, the disease that is actually caused by pathogen is transmissible disease lah. So disease in which the pathogens can be passed from one host to another. So it can be spread from one host to another, one person to another, one animal to another. Okay. And then let's see. Pathogen can be transmitted in two ways, direct or indirect. Okay. So if direct means through blood fluid like blood and saliva and others Okay. Indirect is from contaminated surfaces food animals and air So it's like when the host with the pathogens, they touch this table, and after that few minutes later the pathogen is still there, still haven't died yet, still active, and then person B go and touch that table. So this one is indirect contact lor. Direct contact is like for example like both the host for the pathogens and the other person, they share the same same needle for the blood transmission then the person B will be contacted Body defense, you have 3 types mechanical barriers, you have 2, chemical barriers, you have 2, and then lastly white blood cell, you have 2 also. Okay, mechanical the first one is skin So for skin skin actually covers almost all body parts to prevent infection from pathogens, and skin also immediately begins to heal itself after it's cut or grazed So covers almost all body parts and then immediately begins to heal. Hair in the nose is to make it difficult for pathogens to pass through the nose so that the pathogens are not inhaled into the lungs so difficult to pass through. These 2 are for mechanical barriers So chemical barriers you have mucus and stomach acid Mucus it is made in various body parts to trap pathogens and remove them. So trap pathogens, remove. Okay, you have few ways to remove it by coughing, blowing nose and swallowing. Stomach acid actually contains HCl that kills any pathogens which got swallowed or consumed. So this one is HCl. Why is HCl able to kill pathogens? Because they are very strong acid. This one is related to chemistry also Chemistry chapter 7. So this one is strong acid. Okay. White blood cell. You have 2 types from chapter 9. Phagocytes and lymphocytes. Phagocytes is for phagocytosis Lymphocytes is for antibody production. And memory cells also So it's like that. When antibody is produced memory cells will also be produced after the infection. Okay, so let's look this one is the importance of controlling spread of disease. The first one is clean water supply because if the water is not clean then when we straight away drink the water pathogen inside the water will also be drink into our and then flow into our body then straight away infect already and then secondly, hygienic food preparation. Okay, This one you have few ways lah. So keep food cold, refrigerator, put them in refrigerator so that bacteria and fungi they will reproduce more slowly lah. And then prepare food hygienically. Still, this is to avoid contamination from pathogens. So you can do this by washing hands with soap and then cleaning work surfaces with products like bleach lah, to kill pathogens. This one is for preparing food. Okay. After that, cook food well. Cook them long enough in high temperature so that the pathogens alive there will be killed also. After that, cover the food to prevent flies from landing on it before eating. Use separate chopping boards or utensils, especially to cut the uncooked meat. And then after that, wash hands after using bathroom and before handling food. Okay, and then after that, personal hygiene, the third one. Okay, for personal hygiene, washing hands with soap lor. Not only hands lah, the whole body lah. So remove substances which trap pathogens as well as pathogens themselves from the skin. And after that, use tissue to catch sneezes and cough lah. And then after that, the tissue after you use already, must straight away dispose them, throw them away as soon as possible. Because the pathogens in the tissue might still be alive. And after that, still the same thing, wash hands after using bathroom. Fourth one is waste disposal. For waste disposal, okay, waste food is a food source for flies that can act as vectors for transmissible disease and so should be disposed in a sealed container. So, dispose in a sealed container is the step because waste food is the flies can be there as to transmit diseases lah. And after that, rubbish bin should be covered. And then the rubbish should be removed to the landfill for disposal or burning regularly. And then all rubbish should be stored before collected away from human habitation. So okay, so before they are collected away, you have to store the rubbish away from human habitation. Okay, and then lastly, sanitation. Homes and public places should have plumbing and drains to safely remove feces and waste which can carry pathogens. So this one is plumbing and drains. Plumbing and drains lah. And then after that, this one is the function lah. And then raw sewage should be treated and remove solid waste and kill pathogens before release to the environment. So treat sewage lah. Okay. After that, I didn't prepare the notes. So this one, immunity. For immunity, you have both lah, active and passive. For active, the antibody is produced by itself. So this one will gain, long-term defense will be gained lah. So for passive is the other way around lor. The antibody we get it from another beings, another animals or plants fast acting but short-term defense. This one, active one, they might take time, but this one is for long-term defense. Passive, you can recover very fast, but next time when the pathogens enter your body again, you have to go and get the antibody again lor, because you can't produce the antibody by yourself ma. So for active immunity, you have two types, natural and artificial. Natural is you infected by yourself lah, and then after that you have to produce the antibody by yourself. The lymphocytes in your body has to produce it lor. And then artificial is you didn't infected, but you get vaccinated lah. So the big or that pathogens, or they are unharmed lah. Pathogens are inserted into your body, and then after that your body itself, they will produce antibodies lor, and then after that memory cells will be produced also. This one, the process and the function for vaccination, you need to know also lah. Okay, and then for passive immunity, you have natural and artificial also. Natural is you gain the immunity naturally lor, so from mother to infant lah. For example, through placenta during pregnancy, and then after the infant is born, through breast milk lor. Okay, artificial is injected antibodies lah. For example, for diseases like rabies and tetanus lah, your body can't produce the antibody by yourself ma, so you have to inject the antibodies lor. Okay, so this one is the process for vaccination lah. Harmless pathogen is injected to your body with the antigens, and then after that the antigens they will trigger the immune response lor. So it might cause it's you have to produce the antibody by yourself ma, so it might take days lah for lymphocytes to produce or make complementary antibodies lor. And then after that, lymphocytes they will produce these complementary antibodies lor. And then okay, the antibodies they will be multiplied also lah. So with lymphocytes able to produce complementary antibodies multiplies. Yeah, the lymphocytes and multiplies, and then to produce more antibodies like that. Okay, and then after that the antibodies is specific lah to the antigens. So after that after the antigen, the pathogen is gone is killed the memory cells will be produced, and then the memory cells will last there for years lah. If this is to prevent that if the antigen is encountered again, the antibody will be produced much faster. So this one is actually long-term immunity. Okay, just now I didn't explain what is antigens, what is antibody, what is the lymphocytes, how the whole thing. So this one is here lah. You need to know if they ask you to define the active immunity lah. So this one is, let me see active immunity. Defense against pathogens. This one, when they ask you to define, depends on how many points are there allocated. If there's 3 points, then you need to explain more lor. This one is just for 1 point lah. So this one you have to write lor. Long-term defense against the pathogens by antibody production in the body. And then okay, and this one each pathogen has its own antigens lor, which have specific shape. So different pathogens, they have different antigens, and then different antigens, they need different antibodies to bind with them lor, and then to destroy them or attract phagocytes to come and do phagocytosis lah. Antibodies, the definition: protein that binds to antigens, leading to direct destruction of pathogens or marking of pathogens for destructions by phagocytes. This one lah. This one is the labeling one lah. this one is the pathogen, and then the antigens is over here, and then after that the antibody will be produced, and then they will attach to the antigen. So this one is to attract the phagocytes to come and perform phagocytosis. Okay, and then after that specific antibodies. Okay, this one already. And then after that, active immunity. This one is gained naturally after infection, and then or by vaccination. So if they ask you to explain how this active immunity can gain after infection naturally lah. So this one is after infection is your first point, and then the antigens on the pathogens, they trigger this immune response lor. And then after the antigens, they trigger the immune response. The lymphocytes, they will produce antibodies and memory cells lor. So this is the points that you have to write if they ask you to explain how active immunity is gained naturally lah. Okay, and then after that, process of vaccination. This one weaken pathogens or weaken or dead form. So some is not weaken, you know, it's straight away dead. The pathogens are dead lah. So to make them in unharmed form, so that we won't really get infected or their antigens are injected into our body or put into our body lah. And then after that, the antigens of the pathogen, they will stimulate this immune response by the lymphocytes, which will produce antibodies. And then after that, memory cells will also be produced, so that long-term immunity is given. Role of vaccination. Okay, this one you have to write related to herd immunity also. Okay, so this one, vaccination will give protection against specific disease without exposing to the dangerous disease lah. Because some of the disease might be fatal means might lead to death lah. And then this one, the level of protection actually depends on the proportion of the people vaccinated lor. So if large percentage of population is vaccinated, then this will decrease the places for pathogens to reproduce in that area. So herd immunity is formed. Okay, so this is all for active immunity. Active immunity and vaccination. And then after that, we'll move on to passive immunity. Passive immunity is the short-term defense against pathogens by antibody acquired from another individual. Okay, so short-term defense, and then the antibodies we will get from another individual. Okay. And then after that, for example, you have placenta and breast milk. This one I already mentioned just now. Okay, this one if they ask you to explain the importance of the breastfeeding for passive immunity. So this one, first point, breast milk, they contains antibodies. I read like that lah. From mother. And then after that, because the immune system of the baby is not well developed yet so you need to get antibodies from the mommy first, so to protect the baby itself from the pathogens. So this one, and then after that, immune system of baby or infant not well developed yet. And then after that, this kind of passive immunity they will provide the protection against pathogens for the baby. So provides protection for baby we know, but you need to write, be specific so you need to write protection against what? Against pathogens. At early growth stage of infant. Okay. After that, this one, memory cells are not produced in passive immunity. So for memory cells is only produced after the antibody is produced So active immunity, they have memory cells and antibody, but passive immunity, no. Okay. This one is for the lymphocytes So different lymphocytes, they will produce different kinds of antibodies Okay. Lastly, this one cholera. This kind of disease you need to learn also Cholera is a disease caused by bacterium which is transmitted in contaminated water. So if the water is polluted then it might have this cholera bacterium Okay, so this kind of bacteria they will produce this toxin. So this toxin they will cause this secretion of chloride ions. Okay, so chloride ions will be produced because of this toxin. And then after that, chloride ions will be produced in the small intestine. So this one, the osmotic movement, the water movement the water molecules will move from the small intestine into the gut. So this will cause diarrhea, dehydration and loss of ions in blood So okay, this one, chloride ions is for the uses is for water balance and formation of hydrochloric acid in gastric juice. So we need chloride ions also, but not in small intestine, in other body parts. So this one is for cholera. And then after that, last but not least we try to this part. Okay, active and passive immunity. Alright, and then okay, if they ask you to find the difference first things first, this one is antibodies produced on its own. This one, antibodies acquired from another individual. And then after that, because antibody is produced so memory cell is produced. This one, memory cells not produced. And then after that, what else? This one is fast acting ma. This one actually takes days lah. Okay. And then after that, this one is for long-term defense. This one is for short-term defense. Yeah. Okay. So let me see what else more or less like that lor. So this is for all for chapter 10. See you in chapter 11's video.